Okay, so talk to me. You're in business for yourself. Talk to me about leaving, the security of a steady paycheck and knowing when you're going to get paid and how much you're going to get paid, and that world that most everybody else lives in, and deciding to bet on yourself.
It's funny because then, like, on one side of your head, like, the rational side is like, like, their security is an illusion, right? So if you're working for yourself, you're working for some, or for a company, it's there's not one that's right or one that's wrong. It's kind of about what's comfortable for you, but there's sometimes a perception that, like, "Oh, I'm working for somebody else. There's security there. I'm working for a company, and there's security there." So on my, my engineering side, my rational side, it's like, yeah, I understand there's risk over here and there's risk over there, but still making the leap on the emotional side, it still kind of gets you. This is at least a known, or you've been doing it, so it feels comfortable at least. And then when you're going out on your own, the emotional side, it's still kind of like, "Ugh."
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's a little scary, right? When you made the decision, talk to me about day one. Like, what was the mentality day one?
I've always tried to be like as prepared as I can. I've never been somebody that just is like, I'm doing this today and then jump in, right? So it's like I look at something, I'm like, that sounds fun. Then I do a bunch of research. I try to be as prepared as I can. So I think day one was about that. I think this was something that for me was a long time coming. Um, it was something that even early when I graduated, I thought to myself, this is probably what I want to do. And even when I looked at other companies I was working for, I'd march in the interview and say, "Hi, my name is Matt, and in 10 years, I want to be a partner." you know? I would target company that the owner was, maybe 5 to 10 years away from retirement. And engineering is a little bit unique because a lot of times the engineering firms are built around that person. And so when they retire, there's not a lot of residual value in the firm. So if you can find a firm where that's established, but it's tied to that person, you work alongside them for 5 years, then the clients start getting to know you, and then they're comfortable with that transition. But if you just go into an engineering firm and buy it, or the guy retires the next day and they call and they say, "Hi, I'm looking for Mr. Johnson from Johnson Engineering," or Mr. Williams from Williams Engineering, whoever it may be, he's not there. They hang up and call the next guy.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So then you decide to start on your own. It sounds like you had well thought out plans, right? Like it. Yeah. Yes. No. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like it's almost, you have to be as prepared as you possibly can, is my recommendation, right? Do everything you can, learn as much as you can, but you'll never be prepared enough. And there's always going to be these things that, like, these curveballs that, wow, yep, wasn't expecting that, right? Some of the stuff, like, we thought we were smart. We were doing some things with the business, and because it was going to save us costs on insurance, and then the IRS didn't like it, right? So there was a larger tax bill at the end of the year, right? And that's exactly, it was like, we thought were doing a smart thing and it was going to be a benefit. And then it turns out it's like, yeah, well, we saved a little bit on insurance, but then we paid more on taxes because of the decision we made, right?
Man, yeah, I mean, there's not a book for it.
There's not a book for
And I
everything.
feel like as a business owner, I've been in business 13 years. I feel like I still learn stuff every week. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Put that in the quiver. Now I remember it for the future, right?
Better.
But I felt that one a little bit, but I remember it for the future, and now I won't do it again. I feel like it's just a constant thing. When it comes to starting out on your own, and then now, you got employees and stuff like that. So you're not just the operator, right? You're leader. Um, what's that what's that transition been like for you within your own business?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I've ever thought about it that way. So I don't know that I have an answer for it. That's probably not great content.
Me, good camera. I look right at the camera, bro. You know what? I love that you take your time to like answer truthfully. It's so great. Yeah, yeah. So just being, I feel like being a leader is not something that like people are born with. Truly, I think it's a quality that is learned through. Certainly, you can soak up stuff from mentors and internships and past experiences or whatever. But I think going through particular fires is what really builds the leadership qualities. And I'm just curious, like how you approach being a leader.
I don't know that I'm the right one to answer that. I think that's probably to ask people that work with me on the team, because I think sometimes we have a perception of ourselves that may not always match. So I'd like to think, I think there's different leadership styles, and being a servant leader, being willing to show like, hey, if I'm willing to do this, you should too. But I guess the real test of that is whether the people that are on my team, yeah, whether it works, and that the different leadership styles for different scenarios work better. So I think maybe I'll actually probably go back and ask people that work with us and say, well, what do you think?
Right. Yeah, I've always I guess that's true, I've always subscribed to the servant leadership of, uh, strategy, right? That's how I like to lead. But you're right, different situations, different scenarios may need a different leadership style. That's interesting. Okay, so engineering. I think I know 5 engineers, right? So, like, have you always been, like, intrigued in engineering? Is it something from a kid you were into, or when did you get the bug?
I think I think most engineers are wired that way, and you kind of end up either in engineering or a similar type field. We're very literal, we're very black and white, and um, for me, it was like I kind of looked at a couple different things. My dad was a civil engineer by degree, and then went to work for the U.S. government doing contract management. But he was actually had a mining engineering degree and then a civil engineering degree. So he was an engineer. So again, I think there's some. It's kind of in your DNA almost. Your brain is wired to think a certain way. I got married, and at that point, I was kind of like, I need to pick a profession, and I kind of looked at it, and that was what my dad did. So I said, well, I'll give it a shot, and I got in it, and it just clicked for me. It just made a lot of sense. Particularly with structural engineering, is what I like about it is I can see it in my head, right? So I can see the structure, and I know that if I push here, this is how it moves through the structure, and this is what I need to do to resist it, right? So like electrical engineering is a little bit more fuzzy to my, it's like how do you visualize that? Stick your finger in a socket type. It's not correct to say, right? Yeah, but with the structures, it's like I can see it in my head, and I can see how it's going to react when I push this load on the structure.
Interesting. This is your first, venture as the owner, as a business owner?
Correct. Kind of what we were talking about earlier. I had intended to look at, find a firm that was established, one for a couple of reasons. One, they're already over the initial risky first couple of years, right? And they're established. And I felt that that was a safer approach to still kind of get to that end goal. I started a company with a friend of mine, and the goal was just to provide some engineering solutions to contractors, right? They're constantly needing wind loads or real quick structural calc or analysis to support them in what they do. And so we were doing that just kind of on the side to make a little bit extra money, and it did really well the first year. So then it was kind of like, well, maybe this isn't a side gig to pay for, a little vacation, or this could be something that could be full time.
That's cool. That's really cool. So, like, you just had this epiphany, like, "Hey, I got something here." That's really cool. I like that. Um, I know because I know Emerson. Following the hurricanes and the storms, you're quite busy right now. What is it? Obviously, the need is there, but there's other providers, there's other vendors and things like that in the state of Florida. So, like, what makes your company what makes your company great besides Emerson?
Um, I think every company, and they should look at like we're the best, right? We're the best at what we do. And so I say the same thing, and I mean it. So just like every other engineering company that's out there, it's like, yeah, we do the best. We're not looking to um, provide cheap solutions. We want the difficult projects. We kind of set ourselves apart. Engineering and construction is very conservative by nature, so they kind of lag in adopting technology like 10 to 15 years behind everybody else, right? So there's just like this curve. You go to work at other industries, and and the platforms they use, and then you come to engineering and you still have people running around with a clipboard and pen and taking pictures with a digital camera and then coming down and downloading them. So we're pretty quick to adopt tools that help us do our job and also help communicate the results to our clients. So, and one of the tools that we found recently is we're able to take pictures, we're able to take scans, we're able to fly our drone and take a lot of pictures of a property. And we found a platform called Polycam that basically you throw all the images into into the browser, and then it creates a 3D model that you can send a link to your client and say, hey, here's your building. This is an image of your building after the storm. Remember the roof that we told you was damaged? And it's great because a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? But being able to actually see a model of it and rotate it and look at it and zoom in, it's really powerful and it really communicates. All of a sudden people that you're trying to articulate, you're trying to explain to them, and all of a sudden you show them this 3D model and they go, okay, I get it. Right. Yeah, it clicks. We use that tool. Actually, we've got 2 architects that are phenomenal and they work for with us, and they're in India. So they're 10 hours, there's 10 hour either ahead or behind us. 10-hour time difference, right? But we go out, we do this scan, we create a 3D model, and we say, this is what we're fixing. We share it with them, and they're able to basically get into the same model, and it's almost like they're standing there looking at themselves.
because of the it would be trials out without wow. And so other engineering firms, because they're using older technology, they're not planning that.
They don't have that. We use another platform called Filio, which is a really well developed photo taking app. But you take photos, it stores them in the cloud. We're able to add notes. You can record video. You can actually upload 360-degree photos in it. So like we take our 360 camera, take a picture, and we can upload that and share that with the clients. Again, it just helps us do our job, and their platform is really well done. It's like I like platforms. And what we found is that when we try to find a platform that says it does everything, it doesn't do any one thing very well. And they've developed theirs. Yeah, right. They've developed theirs, and they do theirs really well, and it's helped us a lot.
All right, man. So when you're dealing with clients, some of them have, horrible damage, right? So you're dealing with people on like a horrible day, you know, dare I say, in some cases, like the worst day of their life, man. Like, how do you, how do you comfort them? How do you like put them at ease? It's just a unique situation to deal with somebody in their time of need like that.
That's probably not my strong suit. I mean, again, being an engineer, right? When I'm kind of in engineer mode, it's, you almost kind of shut the emotions off and I'm here to solve a problem, right? So tell me what the problem is and I'm here to solve the problem. So it's something I'm working on, and I'll continue to work on. Um, on that same topic, or same kind of thought process, I was much, much more black and white. And then I signed up for an engineering management program with Penn State. And it was, yeah, so it's engineering management, Master's of Engineering Management, with Penn State. And I thought it'd be kind of like an MBA somewhere where there's a lot of, accounting and finance and stuff. And it's actually a lot of teaching people skills.
Much needed.
Exactly. It talks about different personality types. It talks about problem solving. It talks about conflict resolution and interpersonal skills. And, one of my favorite, and I've told the story many times, but one of my favorite um, recollections from that program was they had us take like an emotional intelligence test. So I went and took this, and I was like, what do I need this for? What is this? So I take it, and then I got the results. I was like, oh man. So I went downstairs and I looked at my wife and I was like, yeah.
Oh, man, I have a little bit. Yeah.
She said, we all, I was like, yeah, apparently this was a surprise to only you. So again, it's one of those things that I have to be careful because particularly when we get busy and I get in that engineering mode, I revert back to that. I become very black and white and very rigid. It's something that I'm working on. But that program was great for that reason. It's like, it kind of opened my eyes. I was like, man, there's other ways people think about this, and it's not always my way, and my way isn't always the right way. Yeah.
Well, to your credit, like taking the time to be, or taking the initiative to be self-aware and say, this isn't my strong suit. I want to get better at it. Um, and on the other side, when they're in that situation, the client, they're in that situation, They need somebody that's black and white. And what's the problem? How can I fix it? I'm here to fix it. Yeah, I mean, you need both of those things, probably equally. Okay, cool. So the business is growing, right? You've been in business a couple of years now. Can you point to outside of the what'd you say, insurance tax thing, something you encountered that you had to figure out and overcome in the last couple of years?
That's why I feel. Yeah. I think to kind of piggyback on what you were saying before, it's we're all blind to ourselves, but trying to be as self-aware as you can. Um, I can do a little bit of business development. It's not my strong suit. I don't like to do it. I prefer to be, and that's a problem with most engineers, right? We like to do the work, but you got to go get the work. It's not my strong suit. So it was apparent to me early, and that's where, it was good that I connected with Emerson. Emerson is our vice president of business development. He is an extrovert. He enjoys it. He's very good at it. And it was like finding that person to basically take that portion of the business and say, okay, this is yours. You got this. I trust you do this. I got this and you trust me to do this. And it works. And so we're going to continue building in that sense of like, all right, this is a part of our business that we need to assign. We find the right person for that and put them in that role. And yeah, we've so far we've had good success doing that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big part of. I mean, obviously, just in my profession, like I meet a lot of business owners, and I see so many that are trying to be the smartest person in the room. Like in every facet, and it's like, hey, you're really good at this, but like, why try to be the best at accounting, and why try to be the best at biz dev, and why try to be the best at this or that? Like, why not have people who are great at those things and enjoy doing those things? I'm kind of the same way. Like, can I do a little biz dev? Or yeah, and I am more, I guess, extroverted now than introverted. Do I like it? Not as much. No, I'd rather do the work, and that's just who I am. So I get it, like having somebody that's really great at it and that is going to be fulfilled in their job and enjoy it. Why not put that person to work? Deploy them for your brand. Um, Talking about brand, yeah, great branding. I've noticed the hats and the logos and it looks good. Like, so what's your I noticed that people that are, like, in the weeds and they wanna do the work, they usually put branding aside. So, like, what's the strategy there? How have you been acquiring new people and branding? Like, what's your thought process behind all that stuff?
Again, kind of talking about where that's not my area anymore. Right. So that's why Emerson is here. I started with a web-based generated logo. You go to logo.com and you keep typing until you find one you go like, I like that. I picked it. A lot of engineering firms, if you haven't noticed, a lot of engineering firms, their colors are blue and white.
Yeah.
A lot of law firms, brown or white, right? So ours is blue. I like to think it's a little bit kind of younger, maybe. Right. Yeah. It's a little bit quite, it's not quite that traditional navy or royal blue. Right.
Font. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He doesn't give himself like you can't brand him.
That's right. And you've got the vision. What is the vision? Where's the company gonna be over the next few years?
The goal when I started this, and it still is the goal, is to make this an employee-owned business. Yeah, it's not to. I actually want to make it to the point where it's very attractive to the employees and not attractive to outside investors.
Interesting.
Yeah, don't call me.
No, no.
No, I was like, if you're trying to buy the company, don't call me. Yeah, because that's not the goal here. It is to build something that, because I was always that type of person. I worked too many hours, and then you kind of get to the end of the year and you think, and it was the goal. I felt like the goalposts always just kind of moved, and so I want to create something, and I hope we are. I want to create something that, like, the people that feel like, hey, I'm helping to build this, and in return, I'm gonna get what I should get for the effort I put.
Wow. That was the initial day one. Wow. That is so unique. I don't think I've ever met. I know a lot of businesses that they're in business and then they become employee owned. That's down the road. But day one, that is really unique. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Um, and so does that mean at some point like they'll be the people in the seat and you can, because you talked about engineering firms. Usually the Mr. Johnson leaves from Johnson Engineering and then there's nothing left, right? So like now your team members are going to be the people in those seats.
That was also intentional within it. So I did not call it Mullins Engineering.
Right.
Have Mullins. What ends up happening is the Mullins Engineering doesn't have a lot of partners.